everybody, it's Ms. Beachy from WCA Marine Science, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your semester project that you're going to do. It's called quarterly projects, but we're just going to do one for the entire semester, so we're going to call it the semester project. Um, so what's going on is on your lesson planner, starting next week, and this is going to vary on the date depending on when you're watching this video, you will see something that comes up Marine Science A, Science Experiment 1, and you're going to have 3 days to work on this. So typically, or I should say originally, this whole kind of idea behind the experiment was that you would be able to conduct an experiment in marine science in person in your neck of the woods. You'd be able to design it, conduct it, gather evidence and data, and analyze your data, and so on and so forth. And it would be something you would do over the course of the semester. That's kind of the intent of it, right? Unfortunately, that's pretty much all the information that was ever given to you as a student, and it became kind of something where it's just like it's difficult for everybody to be able to participate in that way for a number of different reasons. One being that there's just everybody lives in a different place, and so access to a marine environment is going to vary. Your access to specific equipment is going to vary. Support from for a multitude of different experiments is going to be difficult. So what I've decided, and have decided, done this for a few years now, is to replace that with a semester project. And that's what you're going to be doing. And it's going to be done in 3 parts. So I have deleted the lesson, or I should say, skipped the lesson in the planner. But you're still doing something. So don't think you have those days free. You're going to be doing 3 different things. So the first thing you're going to be doing, and this is all on your student hub, right here. Nope, that's the wrong page. I think that was the correct page. Oh yeah. So the first one is due on the 11th. This is this year, 2021. So you might be watching this in a different year, which is fine too. You'll be doing the Google form selection of semester projects. So I'll be putting a link to this here. It's not quite there yet. And you will be doing this Google form where you're going to select which project you plan on completing and which organism or region you're going to be completing it on, whether or not you were able to find the project descriptions. I'm going to change that to on the hub because we have changed the location of where these are. And then of course your first and last name so you can get credit for completing this survey. So that's all you have to do this week at this time is just the survey. But you're probably wondering what the heck these things even are. So I'm going to put a link to the Marine Biology Quarterly Project assignments, and you can read through this and decide which one of these assignments you want to do. You can do a research paper on an organism, a PowerPoint or poster on an organism, a travel brochure on a specific region, a marine region presentation, or a regional environmental research portfolio. Okay, so let me kind of explain what these are. So we're not doing any live presentations at all. Wherever it says presentation, think of it as a PowerPoint presentation with the exception of the travel brochure. For the travel brochure, all you will need to do is submit the brochure. I'm not going to have you do any kind of presentation part with that. So the first thing you could do is you could pick a marine organism, but be specific, okay? So if you want to do a dolphin, that is fine, but I want you to focus on not just general dolphin, but also on a specific dolphin, perhaps the bottlenose dolphin or something. You want to pick a specific species. If you want to do squid, that is fine, but there's a multitude of different kinds of squid. So make sure as you're researching, you focus on, you can give some general information, but you're also going to specifically focus on one, especially where it says, where does that organism live? What I don't want to hear is in a variety of different locations. I want you to give me some examples. So what you're going to be looking for your paper, right, are these kind of 7 things. I don't even know where the number 5 came from. So your organism's complete classification from kingdom to species. So kingdom Animalia, what is the phylum, what is the class, what is the order, what is the family, what is the genus, and what is the species. So if you're going to write about a group of organisms in general, aka dolphins, make sure you give at least 2 individual organism classifications from that group. And the environment in which the organism lives. Again, temperature, range of distribution within bodies of water, migratory patterns, if any, how deep in the water they live, their habitat. So again, this is where you have to kind of pick one to focus on, because if you just pick whales, it's way too broad. You're going to have to narrow it down because that is going to have to be a narrow area. Physical appearance of the organism, how the organism survives, what it eats, what it hunts, and who it is hunted by. Reproductive strategies, how does it reproduce? How does it carry its young? Is it like external, internal? Does it lay eggs? Does it give birth to live young? How long is it pregnant? Oviparous and viviparous. Oviparous meaning egg-laying, viviparous meaning giving birth to live young. Special features that make the organism unique. You can kind of pick something here that you find kind of cool about your organism that wasn't previously mentioned. And then survivability. I want you to look at, like, is your species endangered? Why is it endangered? Is it threatened? Why is it threatened? So what is the dangers to this particular organism? So about 4 to more pages. You should double, spacing, 12-point font, include diagrams and photographs, at least a couple, right? But that doesn't count the total number of pages. And then at least 3 references. So 3 different references, so include a page with your references. That's your paper. And then this is kind of how I scored. It kind of got a little messed up on the PDF. The PowerPoint is very much the same. You have the same questions, but now instead of writing them in paper, you're doing them on slides. Visual interest. You need to have pictures. So I want to have pictures, 1 per slide, usually looks the best. You can do a poster as well, okay? So if you do a PowerPoint, include a minimum of 6 pictures. If you do a poster, then this is the specifications for the poster. I think in the years that we've done this, I've had 1 student send me a poster in the mail. Most people choose to do the PowerPoint presentation if they're going to do that. I do not need an oral presentation for this. You do not need to do anything where you're recording your voice or anything like that, okay? Travel brochure. Now you're not focusing on an organism, but you're focusing on a region. So you're going to focus on a geographical region that's near the ocean. So an island or a bay of some kind, or, very kind of more of a specific. Don't say Australia, but if you want to do Australia, pick a specific geographic location in Australia, and you're going to make a travel brochure. You can do this digitally if you want to, or you can actually do it on a brochure and you can send it to me through the mail in one of your white envelopes. So you must use drawings and computer graphics, make it interesting to look at. So it should be something that is, just is something that looks like a brochure that's going to gather your interest. So region of the world, include a map, name of the ocean or body of water associated with the region, average temperature of the coastal water, types of water sports or water activities to do with that location, description of coastal region, significant regional topographic features along the coastline, things like mountains and volcanoes and valleys and canyons and stuff like that. Organisms to be encountered along the coastline. So if you're swimming and you're in that area, what type of organisms kind of live nearby? What is the climate of the region? Research hotel information and put information for at least 1 hotel that you could stay at, and research any available tours. Again, this is real stuff. I don't want you making stuff up here. That could be available if you visited that area. Dangers or special precautions that must be mentioned. So again, if this is a brochure, so a brochure by definition would have a cover, you'd open it up, there'd be 2 things on the inside, and you'd shut it, and there'd be something on the back as well. So you're talking about 4 different locations where stuff should be printed. So if you're doing a digital copy, remember that 4 columns essentially is what you're going to be doing. Marine region presentation. So PowerPoint presentation, you're going to be picking a specific marine region in this area. Map of the newly discovered region, topography of the ocean floor. So these are things like maybe the kelp forest or the mid-ocean ridge, or I don't know, like you could be doing like a certain coral reef, like perhaps the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia, right? So again, just follow the little bullet points here. That's what would need to be included in your PowerPoint presentation. And then we have our regional environmental research portfolio. So for this one, you're going to choose a specific region of the world or choose a topographical area of a specific region where there are environmental problems that plague that area. A great example would be the Great Barrier Reef with all the coral bleaching that happens there. Once the area has been decided, you're going to provide the following information. You include a one-page summary of your marine region. Where is it located? How is it formed? What organisms live there? What's the water temperature, sunlight like? What environmental problems face that region? 10 articles, which you're going to be given 10 small summaries, each one as summary of the article, right? 4 to 6 sentences a piece. So you're talking about like 40 sentences or so from all of those different articles and a bibliography. So you can do this in a paper if you want to, or you can also put that into a PowerPoint if you want to just put your summary on the first page and then do a slide for each one of your articles. That's fine too. Okay. Those are your options. Those are your choices. So pick what type of project you want to do and then focus on either the region or the organism. Remember, organism doesn't necessarily mean animal. You can do plants too. Probably not as necessarily as interesting as animals, but there are marine plants you may want to focus on. And once you're done figuring things out, oops, you're going to fill out this survey, and that's going to be your first grade. So the first grade is the survey. That's what you're going to do. That, no, wrong slide, is what is due by October 11th. Between October 11th and November 22nd, you should be working on this project. So you might want to start working on it right away because you literally have 3 days to just decide on something, and the only thing you have to submit is that survey. So if you figure it out, then start working on it because that gives you some work time on that as well. The rough draft is due on November the 22nd, your rough draft. Your rough draft. So you have to have something submitted then to show me the progress that you have made. You may not be finished, but I want to see the progress. Here's the caveat. If you turn into me a poorly done or an incomplete portfolio, I'm going to lower your grade on November 22nd, and you might not like it. However, once you've turned in your final draft to me, whatever your final draft grade ends up being will then go around and I will submit the same grade for your rough draft. So say you turn in the rough draft and you get a 10 out of 50. It wasn't finished, you only had a couple slides done or whatever, and that's not good. That's not very 20%, right? But then when you finish your final draft, you ended up with a 45 out of 50. I will go back and change the grade of your rough draft to a 45 out of 50 as well. So these two grades in the end of the day will be the same. Okay, so I'm not going to penalize you for not being finished on your rough draft, but I do want to see what you have done at that time. Does that make sense to you? In the interim, you're going to carry whatever grade you have between those two dates. So if it lowers your grade, it's going to stay there until you submit your final draft. So there'll be 3 grades in the gradebook. The first one is only worth 10 points for the Google form. And then for your rough draft, that is worth 50 points. And the final draft is also worth 50 points for a total of 110 points. And your final draft is due by the 16th. That is the date. So those will go in as custom assessments. So don't forget that you have that work to do. It's not going to show up on your planner. It's not going to show up on your to-do list. But those are things you need to keep working on. I will keep putting them in the announcements every week on the hub as well. If you have any questions on this assignment, let me know. Otherwise, good luck to you. Have fun, and hopefully you guys can pick something that's really interesting and enjoy this project.